do know that there's also power in video. And you're using a lot of video on Facebook as well. How is that fueling business, and how are you telling your business clients to use it?
Yeah, so it all kind of started back in NICU. I mean, NICU was the worst thing I ever went through, but it was the most amount of I realized how little I could do and how big of an impact I could have. So I actually used to do this thing called stoplight confessional. And there was this really long stoplight that I had every day going to NICU. And I swear it was more to pump my own self up, but I would get out my phone and I would do a 1 or 2, depending on how long the stoplight was, video. And I'd say, hey guys, today's a cloudy day, which is weird in Arizona. We never have clouds, but I want you to remember the sun is always behind the clouds, no matter how much it's raining, no matter and I would just think and percolate as I was getting ready for the day. What kind of message could I put out there that honestly, I needed to hear? And it became this whole series. So it started back then. And now, I love Instagram stories. I know that's how you and I know a lot about each other. That's why we haven't even physically met or hugged yet, but we feel like we know each other.
Right.
And I think it really is a window into people's world, and it can be used so many different ways. Produced, unproduced, on the fly. We're a voyeuristic society, and people love to see things behind the scenes. They're curious. We just aimlessly scroll and flip if you're not aware of it. So I think video is so ridiculously important, and especially for someone like me who is very expressive. If you guys are listening to this podcast right now, Michelle and I are also recording it on video, and my hands are going everywhere, and I'm bouncing around.
And you will see it on YouTube, believe me.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that's when it really comes to life. Right.
But
that's when it really comes to life.
Yeah, for sure.
I have folks over in London that listen over in the UK, and they wait until the video comes out, and that's when I start to see it shared on Twitter, and they're like, oh my gosh, if you listen to it, it's one thing. If you see it, it's like you're right there.
Yeah, for sure. And because, we're talking about things that we're passionate about, and that passion just oozes out, and you can hear it. But then when you can see it, and you can see our eyes light up, or our hands go everywhere, or it's dancing around, it's exciting. There's an energy that gets exuded and that gets received.
Absolutely. So what other hacks, low-hanging fruit, are you sharing with your clients these days?
That's a really good question. So I think they're a hack. I think the biggest thing, when it comes to technology, is that people are what do I post? I want to know what I ate for breakfast this morning, or, I'm in the office by myself all day. I don't know what to do. And I think that just really thinking ahead of time about maybe 3 to 5, I call them buckets. And avenues that you can kind of mentally prepare yourself for. So when you are working out in the morning, go ahead and snap that picture, or take that video, or whatever it might be. Or maybe one of your buckets is kids, because you really help a lot of mompreneurs, right? Or maybe another one is the fact that you really love shoes or outfits or purses, and the purse of the day or outfit of the day. And then you sprinkle in a little bit of the business in there. So I think that if you can figure out what is your brand theme, I don't know if I'm going to totally go off the rails, but I have a really good, story. It happened the other day.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So my dad's over for dinner. God bless him. He made us, me and my mom, some Mother's Day dinner. And my dad's just starting into the real estate world. And he is a boomer. He's 64 or so, right? And my dad is not outgoing like I am. He does not like big crowds. He's more of a small crowd kind of guy. And he's doing this real estate thing, and he's but I don't know what to put on Facebook because I haven't sold thousands of houses. And I'm like, Dad, it's totally fine. And I look at him and I go, you have a granddaughter that was in NICU. You've bought a house at every stage of your life, from the fixer-upper with burn marks in the plaster, and
there you go,
off the roof and redid it. You know what it's like to raise kids and put them in college. You know what it's like to move cross country. I'm and you're from the East Coast, and you're Italian. I was look
Yes.
right there. You know who you are. He looked at me like, what? And my mom's like, you should have recorded her. I'm like, Dad, we'll do your whole brand guide. But I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, my point, Michelle, is that we're so close to it that we don't actually, it's hard. It's even hard for me to step out and actually see ourselves from the outside in, because we're so close to it. So I think
well, and I was going to say that you hit on something that is a recurring theme in a lot of my speaking and a lot of my writing. When you know your story, you actually know your uniqueness.
Yeah.
And when you know your uniqueness, you have the ability to be authentic. And when you share your story, people can relate to you.
100%.
And that's exactly what you just shared with your dad.
Yeah.
And it was like an aha moment for him.
Yeah. Every single one of us has a story, but I also think the word story has been so overused and people are like, well, what story do you want to know? And it's like, no. Like if you had to narrow it down for a couple of things that would describe who you are, what is that? Yes. And that's what makes you unique. And I would even argue that it makes you unique that you can actually tell that story, right? Because a lot of people can't even talk about it or tell it.
Yeah, and once you know it and you can tell it, you're unlocking so many possibilities, even in your future. Like I am on this path right now because of a list that I made coming out of college.
Oh, wow. Tell me more about that.
Coming out of college, I know I'm a writer, but the question is how do I make money doing it, right? I knew I was too young, had no credentials, no experience for anybody to want to see a book, like who was going to publish a book of mine, right? So I had to go on this search. So I was an English major, writing emphasis. I knew how to write prose. I wrote for the newspaper. And then it hit me, why don't I try journalism? So I took an internship at the local Fox affiliate. It was CBS at the time. And I learned to write for television news, which was great. I spent a lot of time doing that while I was working on my master's degree. And at that point, I took my first class that was around image and brands and the discourse between. It was very, very theoretical, but it was my first real brush with marketing and PR. And I got bitten by the bug, and I said, that's what I'll do. I can make money doing PR. But I'm